VHS tapes. I should probably get rid of them, but I've still got those. I got a VCR right here, but they're going away they're going everything digital, right? They got to download everything onto their computers or devices. They have nothing tangible, nothing physical, where they're going to regret that, I think, especially obviously grid down. They're not going to have access to any of this stuff. Where me, I'll be watching my DVDs and VHS tapes just like normal. That's awesome. There's no new normal for me. It's all the old normal.
Yeah,
there you go.
You're
acting like you're already off grid.
That's right. That's right. So I don't have to change much.
That's super awesome.
Well, I think with that in mind, like understanding how fragile society is right now, how fragile systems are right now, having something stronger in the back pocket or getting used to using it is a lot better. Like I'm trying to get my kids used to using a DVD player, and they're like, well, no, just push on, just point at the TV and change this, and you can stream. All they're used to is streaming. Mm-hmm. So it's like, turn that off, and then they don't know what to do. They're like, Dad.
Yeah, show them a vinyl record, and then they'll flip out. What the heck is this?
Oh, they've seen that. I think it's cool. It's it's the soundtrack to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice. On vinyl.
It's awesome. On vinyl.
Nice.
I love it.
That's something we did as well for this last Christmas. We got ourselves a record player, and it has a cassette player on it. And we've got my parents' old vinyl records, and we've been listening to them. And it's, I like nostalgia. As I'm getting older, I appreciate it more and more.
It was super funny. A few years ago, we were moving out of from one house to another. We were getting rid of some stuff, and I had a box of floppy disks. And my son was like, "Dad, what in the heck are these?" And I was like, "They're 3.5, discs for a computer. You put them in, and that's how you get your information, transfer your information."
You remember the 7-inch ones?
And those, and that was those at 3.5 were the next generation. That was like the upgrade from the old black ones with the hole in the middle, and they were so floppy you had to be careful not to touch it, or else it would ruin the whole data or whatever. I mean, it's just amazing to me how much the new generation doesn't have a clue or remember or even have any experience with any of that stuff. It's crazy.
And now they see these micro SD cards that are multiple terabytes on a micro SD. And my first computer was 16 megabytes, right, of memory. No, 16K. I mean, absolutely tiny compared to what we have now.
Well, and honestly, if you get, I was just going to say, if you get a card like that, a thumb drive or a terabyte card, and you back up stuff to it, and then you have like your phone or maybe some small device like a laptop with a solar power, way to charge it. That's actually, I mean, it's not ideal, but if above buying all these books and having bookshelves in your house now, that's the next best thing I would say is you download stuff to those things that you could then access through smaller laptops and computers that are easily charged by solar panels that you can get. I had a solar charger that could charge my laptop easily. And so you can do some things like that and still kind of stay relatively digital.
Yep. I have multiple separate hard drives that I back everything up onto. So those are easily put into a pouch, right? A little Faraday cage and protected along with a laptop. And then you got some normalcy that way.
Awesome. Now, Paris, you were going to show us a clip.
Well, I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily want to play the clip, but I want to show the screen anyway, so you guys can access it if you want to. But real fast, this particular clip here is that clip of Jim Jordan. And I'm going to share it to our Prepper Talk Radio Facebook page. But this is Jim Jordan going off on the fact that the Biden administration just said that there's going to be a cyber attack in Russia, or from Russia, I should say, and that they just let the guy go who was the #1 cyber attack, cyber hacker from Russia. They let him go 6 months previous to this particular video. So I think that's a video we'll share on our page if you want to go see that. For those of you that are watching or listening only, you'll see this on our YouTube channel, but you can also go jump to our Facebook page where you'll see that share there. The other thing is this one over here where Glenn Beck goes through a whole bunch of information about the digital dollar. And quite honestly, I don't know if you guys saw this either, but Biden just put together an executive order where he said something along the lines of, we need to look into digital currencies and making the Fed having the Fed have a version of a digital currency that we're going to move forward with, because he was worried and concerned about some of these countries, that we're sanctioning right now, going through backdoor ways to continue to transact business using cryptocurrencies. And so now they're getting into being able to create a digital dollar that they can control more easily. And anytime there's a control more easily type of a theme, I'm not interested. I want to be controlled more interest. And if you see really quickly here, you might recognize somebody over here. It says Paris Clough just did a video. So what was crazy is I have a financial channel where I talk about financial self-reliance, and I did a video about the war on cash that's going on right now. So if you want to go check that out, Financial Self-Reliance is my YouTube channel. And I did a war on cash video that talks about that. So lastly, just to kind of actually maybe as a segue into what we kind of want to talk about here in the next little few minutes, is this Ray Dalio video. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's got 8 million views on YouTube. And so it's doing really well. And it's called The Changing World Order, where it talks about world reserve currencies and the cycle of world reserve currencies for the last 500 years, and how world reserve currencies have changed as countries have risen in power and then declined in power. And he shares with us in that video some significant evidence that the dollar is declining, and the Chinese government is coming up really strong as the next potential world reserve currency. And that if that happens, just telling you, our economy is going to go the wrong direction really fast.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really significant about this video is Ray Dalio is a former hedge fund manager. I mean, he's a mainstream kind of guy who lived in the banking system for many decades. And for him to put out this type of information is really quite significant, because you think what we see every day, and it's like these world leaders and central banks and such have no idea what they're doing. It seems like they have no idea what they're doing. But if Ray Dalio knows this stuff, these guys know this as well, and which tells me that what they're doing is on purpose. Why would any particular individual like you or me or families go into so much debt that on purpose that we cannot even service it? We have our issues, we have our emergencies we've got to take care of, right? And that happens to most everybody. But it's quite obvious that our government, our banks, the Federal Reserve is doing these things on purpose. I would like to think that they're ignorant and that they don't know these things. But if Ray Dalio knows these things, they know it as well, and which tells me everything is planned and on purpose. And that and just like Glenn Beck says in his specials as well, I listen to Glenn on a regular basis. Not that I agree with a lot of things he says. He's still, I think, parrots a lot of mainstream stuff, which is propaganda. But they know what they're doing, and absolutely. So that's another reason we need to be even better prepared, is because their purposes are nefarious and for their own good, not ours.
And if you look at, there's a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
I was going to bring that up too, Scott. Thank you.
Blows the door. I mean, Ray Dalio, everything he's saying is matching up with this book. Mm-hmm. And the thing that they talk about in the book is they create economic situations where they have to force inflation. And when inflation goes crazy, and they do this country by country and a lot of times, and they'll force inflation on this country, and then they'll bail them out. And then they'll force inflation on another country, and they'll bail them out. And then when they do that, they intentionally replace their currency.
Well, that bailout is their buying, right? They're stepping up and they're taking control of that country's assets. So it's a form of slavery. They're putting that country into bondage, and they say, okay, to pay us off, give us your assets. Mm-hmm. They're buying. They create the money out of thin air, and then they're taking the assets.
Again, and then it forces inflation again on the country giving the money out. Yep. And so in this case, it's been the US dollar going everywhere, right? We'll partner with NATO, and it's mostly the US money that's going out to pay for all the aid. Well, why? Because it's the easiest money to just inflate, or to print, yep. Right? To just flood the market with, because it's the petrodollars attached to the US economy right now. Well, as soon as they pull oil off the petrodollar, what else does the US have left? Right now it's inflating so fast, you know, with what Glenn Beck's saying, with what Ray Dalio is saying, with what Creature from Jekyll Island says, it's like we're coming to a point where there has to be an economic crash and a reset. And that to me leads into a new one world order approach.
Yeah, and we hear that being said, you know, the Great Reset is, I mean, that's part of their plan, which is a financial reset is what it really is. But it's also a government reset. It's also taking control of the elites, taking control, and that's straying a little bit, I think, from our topic, but of kind of financial collapse being one of our biggest concerns, right after cyber attacks, right? Is that things are going to go cashless, like Paris was talking about, so go watch his video. The reduction or the loss of cash is a loss of privacy. And then with the new digital currencies, like Scott was saying was going to come in, these are not going to be like a blockchain type of currency. And we need to differentiate money from currency. What the government prints is not money, it's currency. And these new central bank digital currencies are not going to be a blockchain type of currency or blockchain type of system, whereas like Bitcoin and many others are blockchain, and blockchain has a lot of uses. I don't believe in Bitcoin, but blockchain is quite a great technology, very useful. But theirs will be different.
It's a transparent system too.
Exactly.
So everybody can see where the dollars are. No more dollars can be created. No more dollars. None of them can be deleted. Right? The coins, the tokens, whatever. This is the set number. Well, yeah, because it's a digital wallet system that's open, that everyone can see it. The accountability is awesome. So government can't use it to be able to do their purposes because it's trackable. It's visible. They can't just create more on demand when they need to flood a market.
But also
their own currency that they can control. They got full go. They can. It's no different than what they're doing now with the fiat currency we have. It's just now 100% digital instead of a little bit paper.
Right, and it also will be. And sorry to interrupt you, Paris, but it will also be. It's their own system, so they will be able. It's programmable is the right word. It's programmable. So if they don't want you, let's say, oh, we don't want you buying coffee, they can get that specific. Or they'll be tracking our health, and they'll say you're a little overweight. You don't need to be buying this or that. They can say no. You can only spend so much amount at this location. We don't want you buying guns or ammo either with this money. They can even say, okay, by the end of the month, you got to have this all spent. Otherwise, it's going to expire. So there will be no transparency. They will track it and trace everything, and we will have no anonymity in our currency whatsoever.
I was just going to say that goes back to what Biden did with his executive order about trying to get back control of this digital currency, because they can't control crypto as it is right now, or at least Bitcoins and Ethereums, maybe some other ones too. They can't control it, so they're going to create their own, and they're going to make that the one thing that only everybody can use. And you know, the things that you were talking about, Shane, are really. I think Glenn Beck did a really good job in that video. Explaining the very things that you just talked about in a little more detail. He goes into like 10 minutes. He goes on and he shares articles and other things that kind of really back it up. So if you are wanting to know more, go visit our Facebook page and look at that share from Glenn Beck and watch that video from him, because he's gonna in that video he does a really good job. And in the video that I did on that, I share a Forbes magazine article that was from 2016. And it says, you know, the real reason for the war on cash, starting with big bills, is to have it is an ugly power grab by big government. That's what the article in Forbes magazine actually said, word for word. So the reality is that people know and have known for many, and that was 6 years ago. And just think about all the things that have happened since then in our financial world. I mean, they literally, thankfully, they kicked it out and it didn't go through, but they wanted to track every $600 transaction we had. I mean, imagine the IRS calling you up and say, you had 12 $600+ transactions. Well, yeah, that was my mortgage. I was paying my mortgage, bro.
And now the policy that did pass is $10,000.
Thank goodness.
But no, there's no difference. There's no difference between $600 or $10,000 because it's based over a year. So who doesn't do $10,000 in a year? So that's the way these politicians work. They try and get something pretty extreme. 600, that's ridiculous. Okay, we'll do 10,000. Oh, okay, all right. what's the difference? It's all the same. They got what they wanted anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing.